Welcome everyone to Hogwarts in Planet Zoo. Let's have a tour. Alright, we are standing here at Hogsmeade Station, as you can clearly tell, and we are waiting to explore this wonderful build. I thought we're doing a couple of tours again, and I wanted to have this video to have a chance to talk about the brand new news about the upcoming HBO series of Harry Potter, and also about the casting and so on and so forth. And also I just wanted to show you the beauty of this wonderful thing. I thought about making that in the rain, but I just quickly figured we can have that in a bit of cloudiness, haze. But yeah, this thing is built by the wonderful creator named the Mushroom Queen, and I found it on the workshop while looking for a couple of things to tour while I'm on holidays, and I found this wonderful thing, and I'm like, I am so freaking stoked by this one. So let's first of all go down here. We've got Hogsmeade Station. If you remember, I also built this station in the past for a winter special, and that was quite a lot of fun to do. So today I'm very keen to see where this is going. So we could either go by food, or we have this little boats house over here, where there's even a little boat tour, as you can tell. But I just wanted to first of all show you the vista from over here. Look at that. I mean, just look at it. It is so freaking good. And you've seen a quick overview at the beginning. It's not only this, there's also the Quidditch field in the background, there are the greenhouses, there's just a lot to explore. So we're going to have a little look at this wonderful thing, and I'm not sure if we can walk over there, so I think in this case, we're just going to quickly fly over to the other side. Alright, so we quickly took out our brooms, our Nimbus 2000, and we landed over at the boat's yard entrance area, so to say. As you can tell over here, this is where Snape had his last hours, and we got to talk about Snape in a bit. But first of all, let me just briefly introduce you to my opinion about the new series. I know that a lot of people don't really like the idea of a reboot of Harry Potter, but I'm sorry to break the news to you. The current Harry Potter is turning over 20 years old. Actually, the first movie is turning 25 years old next week. That is a quarter of a century, and in modern day standards, this is more than time of a reboot. And if I think around, kind of think back to what it would be, I've got a little son, he's 6 months old, and if he's gonna look back at Harry Potter, it's kind of the same as I was looking back at movies like Back to the Future, or other things made in the 70s or even 60s. That is ridiculous, and that was never stuff I would have considered as modern or great. Some of them are classics, apparently, that I have seen a couple of times, and oh god, look at that, this is so good. This is also good. But, I think it's time for a reboot. But I also have to break it. I am not the biggest fan of the original movies. Yes, there are classics, and I've got two absolute favorite movies. It's the first one and the third one, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But oh boy, look at that. This is so good. This is so good. I have no idea how accurate it is. I think this is based off the game, maybe, Hogwarts Legacy. But yeah, I should also, before we start too much talking about this, break the news about my opinion on J.K. Rowling and so on, because it's always been a topic. Let's call it that way. Simple as is. It is a topic. Look at that. I mean, also, just quickly about the build. Yes, it's not like crazy detailed. There could be a couple more details in here. But honestly, it doesn't really require it to break the feeling over to us. I'm like, it's really, really damn good. I want to go into the Great Hall first. But yeah, so J.K. Rowling is definitely not the person you would think she is when she wrote these type of books. She is a hardcore feminist, as she calls herself, but she's against basically everything that is not like the norm of what she believes is the norm. And I think there's enough evidence for what she's rooting for, how she's supporting politics and so on. However, there's just one single argument I cannot buy in, and this is if you boycott the things, that then she would stop doing stuff. People, she's so rich that she could influence the half of the world in the upcoming next 4, 5, 6 centuries, and she would still have the money. It doesn't change a thing. But what does change a thing is giving people who just enjoy. Also, I enjoy that so much. Look at with the candles. That's so cleverly done. I'm like, this could have been a bit nicer, but maybe they're still working on that. But this great hall over here, the ceiling is amazing. But yeah, so It won't change a thing, but what will change the thing is using the power of the genre to do something good, to be a safe place for exactly the people that J.K. Rowling isn't really a safe place for anymore. And I personally think this whole genre, this whole universe grew out of her hands anyways, and you've seen that how they have done things with, you know, Hogwarts Legacy in a very good manner, introducing trans people to it and so on. Also, the casting of Snape, obviously, with Papa Isidore, is a good sign, even though I have my problems with that specific role, but more about that in a couple minutes. I just want to finish the point. I am, like, you could see it that way, not touch Harry Potter anymore and be fine with it. I don't really feel like it's the right move to do. We've got Pride Month, and this is why exactly I'm putting this video in Pride Month. It is mega important that we raise our voices for these people, that we kind of create a safe place, and we use this universe to the better and make sure that Harry Potter is not eternally connected to what J.K. Rowling is doing. That is my personal stance on it. And this is why I'll keep on doing stuff around Harry Potter with always having that little disclaimer that you guys, whatever you do, whoever you are, whoever you love, oh my god, I was not meant to go in here, it doesn't matter. You are safe. This is a place for you to be in and enjoy. Okay, so where do we need to go, by the way? I lost a little bit where to go. Anyways, we're gonna find out a way to go. So that's the stuff I wanted to quickly say before we then go into the casting of the new one. You know, the first actors have been revealed. Hopefully I can go in here. I'm not allowed. Anyways, we just go. Let's see if we can find. There you go. I broke it over here. Look at that. This is so fun. I feel like this is not a tour we should do from this camera. At this point, I want to fly around, okay? So let's jump out of this camera and go around and have a look, because I feel like it's not built as intended to go through everything. Oh, look at that. There's this also backyard over here with a little lovely little clock. Maybe this is the perfect moment to talk about my favorite movie of them all. This is the third movie, because I feel like the third movie is the only one that captured the essence of Harry Potter, how I got into it from the books, how I saw it, and that used the actors the best way possible. And I also think that this is a beautiful movie when it comes to capturing the joy of the trio and so on. But that leads me also to the current actors. I feel like the casting of Harry Potter, the original, was good, but they did a couple of really, really bad ones. And with all due respect, that's never anything against these actors. You know, it's very hard to cast kids and then know how they turn out, who they are going to be. But, like, for example, the character of Ginny in the entire series has been absolutely horrifically destroyed. She is a completely different character. The whole arcway between Harry and Ginny is not existent in the movies, and it's random switch of situations. They switched out the situations of Lavender Brown and Ron with Harry and Ginny, and we also need a static lighting right now. I just want to make sure that we don't have this. There you go. The evening lighting is nice, and I'm still beyond mad about this, because it's a very important bit, but they left out so many things like Peeve the poltergeist, and, you know, all these kind of things. So I'm hoping the series is going to touch upon that. Look at that. This is where the owls are. It's like a little pathway leading up to it. Oh yeah, look at that. There's even like this little way where Harry is going to meet Cho for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but where he is talking to her. And there's where they do some flying. Look at that. There's even the Weeping Willow. That's a very interesting way of building that one. Interesting way. Love it. Now, I think the new casting is very promising. A lot of great actors chosen, but then there is Papa Isidore as Snape. And maybe Snape is the very single character in the movies that you just can't do a intended change of character. And honestly, this is not very fair towards Papa Isidore. I'm very certain he's going to play the role like crazy. He's going to become insanely great at the role, despite the fact that Alan Rickman obviously has had a big stance in it and has been absolutely amazing in that role. But Papa Isidore has a couple of advantages. He is younger, as many of the actors are, so the age is a lot more nicely represented in the characters than it was in the original movies. They tend to be all way too old in relation to what they were meant to be in the movies. Also, I'm just blown away by this Quidditch field. That's so good. So good, like very clever use of these African thingies, African shades and so on. Look at that. The graphics in this game, they really hold up super well. Gosh, imagine that with the global animation of Planet Coaster. That would look so gorgeous. But yeah, back to the point. I feel like it's so unfair. Because if you look at the character of Snape, what his arcway is in the movies, that he's going to be the antagonist for the most of the time, that he's been handled very poorly by Harry's dad, simply because of his appearance, simply because of who he was, and he's been an outsider all the time. He's been, you know, treated very poorly by a lot of people simply because of the way he was as a person. And isn't that exactly what you should avoid in a role like that? And my problem is they wanted to give him a center role, which I totally get. You want to have such a role, you want to represent people of color in a very good manner, which I think is more than important, because they do play a very significant role in that certain part of history of the UK, and hence they definitely deserve their place in here. And maybe I should say that for me in movies, like when it comes to a perfect casting, I'm not a big fan of this intentional switches and changes of roles, simply because I feel like, as long as it's fully fictional, I don't care, I guess, and it's all good. But sometimes I'm like, if you're changing too much just for the sake of it, and you completely misregard the ethics and the history behind that, like, a current example would be the casting of the How to Train a Dragon. Because, like, we're talking about Vikings in a time of history where there was just Vikings over there, people from the north. And I have a problem with that, because you wouldn't do the same in other areas. You wouldn't all of a sudden change how, Mulan is going to be represented, or how Pocahontas is, or, movies like Moana, for example, don't really have that problem, because they're represented in a nice way anyways, because of the oceanic folks and so on. I don't really like this approach for the sake of it, because you don't really help the people, at least in my opinion. And if I do speak with people who are actually affected by that and who do represent these, ethics and these, people, they do say the same. And this is why I do have my personal problems with that. I'm very certain he's going to play the role in a very great way, and potentially after a couple of episodes you don't really mind it anymore. But as I said, because of the archway, I'm a little bit like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just put him in the role of, you could even take Sirius, or you could Remus, or you could even go for, like, I don't know, you could even go for another teacher. So I do understand that they wanted to have him in all series, in all seasons. If you would have gone for Sirius, for example, or Remus, you would have too little time. But, like, this is where I have a little bit of an issue with that. But hey, I just wanted to explain that, and I totally stand by that. I wouldn't just say, no, it's not because of, be more likable to people. It's my personal opinion, and I'm not sure I've shown anything negative in all these years, because, like, I have the big fortune that I've been educated in a way to just don't have any of these. I think maybe, I don't know, I can't even put it in words, to be honest, because I learned from my mom to just respect every single person, and it doesn't matter which skin color, ethnic, age, whatever who you love or so. If you're like an ass, you are an ass. It doesn't matter who you are. And the same goes for if you're lovable, if you're a nice person, it doesn't matter. And I want to, and I love to just treat it that simple, because that's the simple truth about humans. We are all one species, and that's all about it. But that doesn't mean that there are certain cultural things we should not neglect and look over, because that then also becomes of an issue. I'm so blown away by this build by guys. I don't want to just ramble around this, but I just wanted to talk about this, because I'm very hyped for the series. I think the casting, and now let's finally talk about the other ones in the casting, is amazing. And the new trio, specifically Arabella, is absolutely spot on. It is so freaking amazing. Have you heard that little audition of hers? That was absolutely spot on Hermione. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Emma Watson. She is potentially one of my absolute favorite, like, let's say, VIPs out there. Her character, her personality, how she grew out of the role of Hermione is very amazing. However, she had, and that is a weird thing to say, but she had the problem. She grew too beautiful and too crazily good out of this role. Hermione is not not portrayed in that way, and this is what I meant. You don't know that when you cast 11-year-old kids, you know. But how it turned out, it's just the way it is. And oh, look at that! I love this kind of pumpkin stuff over here. Surely that has been done earlier because now we have pumpkins in the game. But still, look at that Hagrid's hut over here. Is there also something in the Forbidden Forest? I'm wondering. Maybe the car or like a little Easter egg in here? Let's have a look. Not really that I do see, but it's looking so good. Oh my god, look at that! Is that Hogsmeade? Or is that Diagon Alley? No, that should be Hogsmeade, right? Look at that! Ooh! What do we have gone here? Cool shop? No, Mestro? Ollivanders. No, that should be Diagon Alley, right? Yeah. Ooh. Cauldrons, Cauldrons. Or is that like Owl Post Office? No, that is definitely Tonko's Joke Shop. No, that should be Three Broomsticks. No, that is definitely Hogsmeade. But they do have the same over there. Okay. Huh, interesting. Huh. Alright, anyways, back to the points. I am very, very excited for this series because I feel like there's so many stories to be told on the big screen that you weren't able to do in the movies, I guess, and that's why I'm so excited while I'm just flying out to show you the whole overview. Gosh, what a beautiful build. And sometimes you see, you don't need to be that crazily detailed to make these builds stick and look beautiful. I'm very, very happy. Hopefully, we can get into a nice discussion about the new series in the comments down below. Don't hate me for my opinion. It's just my opinion. If you see things differently, that is absolutely perfectly fine. And there is no way against arguing against it. It's just absolutely fine. Now, I just wanted to mention that I am personally, also what happens over here. Oh my god, I had that open. That's just annoying. Just gonna leave my little lovely a bit over here. This is just so beautiful, isn't it? It's so freaking adorable. And we could also make a day and night cycle now to just talk for a minute and enjoy that beauty. You know what? Just gonna type in rain. And there you go, just look at the beauty of this castle in the background with some pouring rain and a bit of ASMR. I love that. Now, yeah, as I said, I'm so excited to also see how Peeves the Poltergeist is going to be portrayed because we know that there's and some of the little side stories that haven't made it into the movies. I'm very excited for that one. I'm very, very happy about the casting of the trio. I think all three fit perfectly. Even Harry looks to me a lot more suitable than Daniel Radcliffe did at the end of the day. Like, Daniel Radcliffe was amazing in the first movies, but I think he fell short in the later movies. Not about his appearance, and I'm not even sure if it's Daniel to blame, because maybe it was the way how he was used in these movies, you know. And there is a way of using characters and actors by a director to make them really shine. And this is what I meant with the third movie. I love the third movie so much because the way this whole movie has been done by Alfonso Cuarón, I believe it was, and how he used the characters, he gave them personality. He gave them each a new look. He gave the whole movie a new look, a more darker, a more grown-up look, but still he captured some very happy moments that none of the other movies were able to do. And a real relationship between the people, something you felt connected to them and you did care for the characters. You could really feel the anger in Harry when he didn't understand why he was affected so much by the Dementors. You could really feel the connection between him and Lupin, and you could really feel how he's been so aggressive and it grew inside of him. You could feel the tension between the other characters. You can feel how Hermione started developing. That was really good, and none of this happened in the later movies. The fourth movie then was, I don't know, not really. I think that was where David Yates turned in, and I don't know, it just like, it visually looked the same, but it felt so different. I know that a lot of people like this movie because what is displayed in this movie, but I feel like, you know, if you're so into movies like I am and looking beyond what the movie shows and what it tells, yeah, I had the feeling. So hopefully this is going to happen a lot better in the series. This is why I'm so excited for that one. You know, everyone can have their own opinions on that one. I am very blown away by that. We have the chance to witness in our time again Harry Potter in that sense, and hopefully do it for the better, represent the people in the right way, and make sure that this is still a very nice safe place for a lot of people who gather together because of the passion for this universe. And this is why I wanted to showcase this wonderful build by the lovely, wonderful Mushroom Queen. You did an absolutely gorgeous job on that one, and I am absolutely willing to say this is a beautiful build. I couldn't have done this way, simply because of the essence you were able to capture without going too much into detail. I would have gone, like, I would have taken potentially as long for the entire build only to build the Hogsmeade station over here. Simply because I'm always going to be distracted by doing too many details, and sometimes to create this entire picture you need to do some sacrifices, and I think this has been done to perfection in this build. Alright, that shall be it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you know that this was just meant to be like a bit of a situation to talk about the genre, the universe, and also showcase this. Thank you, and bye.